Hello, hello, everybody. I hope you're doing good tonight. Let's move this in a bit. So, Thursday already. I just wanted to let everyone know if you did not see my posts. I was going to print it out, but the month of June, Stampin' Up! Is offering an extra 10% off your bundles. They're already discounted at 10% off, and they're giving an additional 10% during the month of June. Also, if you noticed, I also posted there are 2 new kits available. One is gorgeous, and hey, do. And the other one is like a traveling journal, which is really very nice. Hey, Karen. 40-mile-per-hour winds. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's pretty nice here too. I'm not really too sure what the temperature is. It's muggy. That it's 79. The humidity is very high. It's 62%. So tonight we are playing with, this is a new set from the new catalog, Wildflower Designs. And if you remember, let me just pull it out here. I used the that's not it, the wildflower paper on my cards the other day. And that paper always seems to disappear on me. Oh, how crazy. Oh, here it is, I think. Here it is. So you'll remember I used this. It was the Wildly Flowering Designer Series paper. I'm only using a small strip of it tonight. And it's the back side with the Moody Mauve. Hey, Virginia, welcome. So we're using the Wildflower Designs, and then we're also using the Dashing Designs embossing folder, which goes with this set, and of course the dies. And for the foliage, I'm using the textured floral dies, the new basic beige cardstock, and stamp pad, because I didn't want my images to be that bold. Ah, thank you. Hey, Kathy. Weather is nice, isn't it? All right, so let's get started. I'll show you. I made a fairly simple card. All right, this is the deckled circles. And then I just added some embossing. I embossed it, or scored it, I should say, with a very simple inside. And then this one, I used a 1.5-inch punch and stamped these images. And again, here's the foliage. I used the label die from Unbounded Love. Is that the name of it? Unbounded Love. With a little bit of a different inside. Hey, V, 89 in California. And then we use 2 of the dies from the Wildflower Designs bundle. And I actually use the scallop from the Scallop Contours. I know they're not available anymore, but I did keep them. And then a little bit of a different inside. Okay. All right, so let's start with the simplest of the cards. We have a basic white card base, and it's 11 by 4 1/4, and I scored it at 5 1/2. Now, just so you know, you don't have to keep track of the measurements. I will have them on my blog tomorrow, so you can just sit back and relax. All right. So there is our card base. And then, of course, I'm going to layer it up. And I'm going to layer it up with some basic beige. This is the new color. And it's 5 1/4 by 4. Okay. And then we are going to add a layer of basic white, which is 5 by 3 3/4. And then I also die cut the deckled circle, and this is about 2 7/8 of an inch. All right. Now, before we do anything, we're going to take that basic white layer. Let me just pull out my scoreboard. All right. And I'm just going to lay it on the scoreboard, and I'm just going to pick, I think I'll start it at 1 inch, and I'm just going to score a line at 1 inch, 1 1/8, 1 1/4, and 1 3/8. All right, so we just have some scored lines on our layer. Now on this card, I put it so the indents were on the front. Tonight, I'm going to lay it down so the mountain score line is on the front. All right. So let's get some seal. I'm actually going to add the seal to this layer so I don't ruin my score lines. And we're just going to line this up. Get it as even as we can. All right, so then we have our layer. Yes, you're very true. It's very true, B. And I even like it probably better than very vanilla. All right, so we have some glue here. Let's see if it works. We're going to adhere this layer now to the front of our card. Got a piece of glue on the front. All right, so let's just lay this on the front of the card. I have to be careful because I'll show you the other card. When I was doing the inside of our card, I went to do the inside layer. Like you see, I did the little flower and I wanted to do the inside layer. I actually put this layer on this side of the card. So I had to add, I had already put my seal down, so I had to add a piece of basic white on the inside. I messed it up. All right. So now let's pull in our circle. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab some crumb cake. So I want the sentiment to be a little bit more bold. And I'm going to use You've Been on My Mind. So like I said, I wanted the sentiment to be a little darker. So I'm using the crumb cake. And I'm just going to put this at the widest point of the circle, but a little bit to the right. Okay. So it's a little bit closer to the right-hand side than it is the left. Yes, you do, Emma. Hey, Liara. Oh, good luck, Jimmy. I hope everything goes well. All right, so now let's pop this up. So we're just going to turn this over. I'm going to close up my ink pad. so I don't make a disaster. So I was walking the dog today thinking about it's crazy the way you think sometimes, but is there anybody who, when you're in your craft room crafting, that you snack? I know, crazy question, but I was just thinking about it, wondering if anybody snacks while they're in their craft room. And now I'm going to pop this up, and I'm again putting it closer to the right hand side than the left hand side. All right, we're just going to put it right about there. And I don't know why I was thinking about it. I don't. I'll drink coffee, or, I'll have drinks, but I don't eat in here unless it's like something I could just pop in my mouth. Candy, All right, so now what I did was, while you guys can answer me, I took this image right here and I stamped 4 of them and die cut them in, stamped them in basic beige, and then die cut them. Now I grabbed my light bubble bath because I wanted a nice light pink. And then I wanted a light green, and our greens are either very yellow or bold or dark. So I went back to my stash of markers and pulled out the soft sea foam. All right, because this is a nice light green, and I am just going to quick color in our leaves. I'm going to go right down the line and do all 4. I just wanted something very soft. It looks dark when you first color, but it does dry very nice. And let's do one more. So like I said, you can see that it is a little on the dark side. Yeah, that I know. Okay. A jar of kiss you do all the time, Kathy. And what kind of snacks do you eat, Kathy, in your room? See, the kisses I would do because there it wouldn't be that messy. You just open it up and pop it in. Because I multitask, but when it comes to crafting, I have a hard time multitasking. Like now with coloring, I wouldn't even think about eating anything. Maybe it's just me. Now put me in front of the TV and I can snack away. Anything chocolate is my favorite. All right, so you see now how they dried so nice and light. It's just a very soft, oh, Cadbury mini eggs, yeah. Just a soft color. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the flower on the top because I want them to overlap each other. But I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to the right hand side and then add our first flower and then grab our second. So we're just keeping that glue right on the right hand side. Then I want to cover up that stem. So let's pull it up a little bit. And then we'll take one more. and add it right there. All right, just very simple and pretty. Caramel corn, ooh, mixed nuts ice cream. Wow, now those are my kind of snacks. So while those flowers are drying, here's our basic white inside layer, and it's 5 1/8 by 3 7/8, and I did an extra flower. So I'm just going to add a bit of glue, and we're just going to add it right here to this corner. Just something very simple. And we are going to add some seal. Try to do it so I don't mess up that flower. All right. And we're going to open this up, and I'm going to make sure I put it on the right side this time. And we're just going to lay this inside our card. All right. So there's a nice, quick, and easy, elegant card. All right. So let's jump to our second card. Again, I started with a card base of basic white, and it is 8.5 by 5.5, and it's scored at 4 1/4. All right, so there is our card base. And then, of course, I'm going to layer it up. I just want to make sure if I have the right ones. Yep. So we're going to take some basic beige again. And this is, let me just check, 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. And then our basic white is 5 1/4 by 4. And I am going to use that, what did I say? Dashing Designs 3D embossing folder. And I'm going to line it up. And I don't know why I didn't emboss this already, but let me just quick run it through. And there it is. Okay. So we are just going to, we're not going to adhere it yet. We're just going to put this down and to the side. Okay. We have a layer of the designer series paper, and this actually measures 5 1/8 by 1 1/4. And then I die cut a scalloped edge with the scallop contour dies, and it's actually 5 1/8 inch and just as wide as you could do, okay? Because all I'm going to do is add a bit of glue. I'm going to take my designer series paper, and I'm going to lay it on here so we have the little, yeah, what would we call these little pieces here where it swoops up? We want to be able to see that, okay? Let's get rid of Omar. Goodbye, Omar. Ah, scallops. Thank you, V. It just like went right out of my head. All right, so now that I have this, I am actually, let me see, did I pop it up? I did. We're going to pop this up onto our layer, okay? And the reason I am not adding the basic white to the beige yet is we want to make sure that the ends don't overlap go over the edge of our basic white, okay? So we're just gonna take off all these papers. Sometimes I wonder, because I know what the words are, and sometimes they just don't come. I guess that's what happens when you get old. All right, so we're going to lay this down so it's right on this edge. And I'm going to have to trim this down a little bit. Turn my light on here. Five and 1/8. There we go. All right. Had to do a little trim. It was a little longer than I wanted. 5 3/8. Okay, so now that we have that on, I am going to take a length of the basic beige ribbon, and we are going to cut it and grab some glue dots. Hey Fran, isn't it funny, V? Sometimes the words just aren't there. And it's scary sometimes because you know the word you want, it just is not there. All right, so we're going to take this basic beige and I'm just going to line it up right at the edge of that designer series paper. Just like that. Okay. Now that that is all finished, we can now adhere it to our basic beige. Oh, I think we've hit the end of the road. All right, so let's lay this on. Oops, that looks like it's too small. Let's use this one. I'm going to have to trim this too. What was I thinking? Let me just trim this off a little bit. There we go. Okay, and I'm just going to pull that glue off there. And I'm just going to grab our card base, make sure I have the opening on the right side, in the correct side. And we are going to, oops, add this, come on, to the front of the card. I did that too quick, didn't I? We gotta grab some glue for there. There we go. All right, so let's get this on the front of the card before I make any other disasters. There we go. Now that I'm all full of glue, and it gets worse as you get older, that's for sure. Ah. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think what happens is we have so much on our minds all the time. I'm going to make a good excuse for us all. We have so much on our minds, and you're thinking of a million things all at the same time. You know, I just think that's what it is. All right, so now I'm going to say these are the dandelions, that flowers that you can blow and make a wish. And I am going to stamp it 3 times. And I know my paper is huge to be doing this, but that's okay. All right. So now that they're stamped, I'm going to go back to that light bubble bath, and I am going to add some pink color to these little ends. Okay. Because I just want some color on it. And I'm extending it past the edge of where we stamped. And we're not doing anything special. They don't have to be uniform. We're just scribbling some light bubble bath over these ends. Okay, and one more. I guess if you wanted to be a little neat, you can, but I just figured these little wisps of feathery petals at the ends are not even. Okay. Then I'm going to grab my Moody Mauve Stampin' Right marker, and I am just going to add a little bit of darkness, little dots, little dashes, just to make that pink stand out a little bit. Okay. And one more. And as you can see, we're not doing anything special, just little dots and dashes. Then I'm going to take a 1.5-inch circle punch, and we're going to line this in here so we have, of course, the flower and less of the stem. And we're going to punch these 3 out. Okay. Get that out of the way. Here's our flowers. Okay. Now we're going to line them up on our designer series paper. So I am going to grab the smaller mini dimensionals, and we're going to turn these over, and I am going to put some mini dimensionals at the top. And I'm going to do this so I don't make a mistake. All right, so our dimensionals are at the top. So let's pull our card duck in, and we're going to start in the middle of the card. So let's just take our paper off. Then we're going to grab some glue, and we're going to add a little bit of glue to the bottom, and we're going to center this on the front of our card. Grab our next one. Oops. Add a bit of glue, and then try to get it on there as even as possible to this one, right? And then grab that last flower and add it right there. All right, so now that we are at this stage, I am going to grab these sprigs that I die cut from Textured Floral, and we are going to add this to the front of the card. Now I know we have dimensionals under here, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim this piece off, okay? And we're going to add some glue. And I'm going to pull this up. And I'm just going to tuck this under, just like that. All right. And then we're going to grab the other sprig. And we're going to add a bit of glue. And I'm going to add this one underneath that ribbon. Let me just pull this up. I'm going to tuck that under. Just like that. All right. Just to add a little bit of the sprigs. Let's grab our ribbon. We're going to tie a quick bow. Ah, thanks, Stu. It's just so, this colors are just so nice and soft. What is today's date? The 6th. Yeah, so like I said, remind you that the month of June, you get an additional 10% off your bundles, which is a nice little deal. It's an extra 10%. And it'll just about take care of the shipping cost, you know. All right, so we got our little ribbon. This ribbon is a little on the heavy side, so I'm going to use my larger glue dots that I have. And we're going to put this right about here. Okay. Let's add that to the front. Just like that. Then I'm going to grab that piece of scrap paper again. And I have my die. I was going to, when it comes to our sentiment, I don't like stamping it on this small little piece. I know, I'm a chicken, but I'm just so afraid that I'm going to make a mistake. All right, and I actually used, did I put it away? Nope, it's right here. You Are Loved, and this is from the Unbounded Love Dies and stamp set. Okay, so we got the You Are Loved. I'm gonna actually grab the mini so I don't have to get up. It's warm in here tonight, and we are just gonna line this up right in the center. Hopefully I have it on there straight. Okay, I think it looks pretty good, and everybody knows that with this one, you really have to keep everything pretty straight for it to feed, there we go, into the rollers. Now they're also offering 10% off the mini and the larger cut and emboss machine. And if I think about it, I probably should grab the larger one because I'm having trouble. I think the screw that holds the handle on is wearing out because I have to keep, and I go back and forth, I have to keep tightening it. My handle keeps coming off. All right, so we're just going to stick this right here. Okay. And there is the front of our card. Yeah, there's subtle colors, right, Drew? All right, now the inside of this one, we have our basic beige, 5 3/8 by 4 1/8, 5 1/4 by 4. And we are just going to do the same thing with this little flower. I'm just going to stamp it right there. Okay, let's grab that light bubble bath and let's just smush some color. Just like that. Grab that Moody Mauve. Add some of this to each of these flowers. Oops, let's get this one here. Okay. And let's add this to our basic beige layer. Oh, stinker. Come on. Oops. All right, so let's get this down. Just like that. Then I'm going to grab some beige twine that I have. And you know I do not like to wrap and tie bows, so bear with. But I'm going to get the twine and tie it. And I'm actually going to put a knot in if I can get it. Oops. There we go. All right. So let's just cut that. So we're just going to pull this down because I want the bow to be right by that flower. Okay. So we're just going to tie our bow. And of course it is going to be a little twisted. Come on. All right. I hate tying. I don't know why it is that I have such a tough time with these bows on our cards like this. Every time I try to tie a bow after wrapping it, I just have such a tough time. And I guess I don't do it often enough. All right, so it's tied. Now, I think I've told you before, so your loops are not tangled if you straighten them out, okay, and put your finger on the knot and pull your tails. Let's get this one. Let's tighten it up. Then your little loops won't be completely tangled. All right, let's cut these short. I think I'm going to have to start wrapping my cards and adding a bow so I can practice. All right, so let's get this on the inside of our card. Let's scoot that down. No, Emma, they do not. It's too wide. The width of the mini is what, 3.5 inches, and your average embossing folder is 4.5. So it's an inch too small. It's just for all those tiny little dies. All right, so here is card number 2. All right, so let's jump to our third. And we are going to, again, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And we're going to go this way. And let's just see what we got here. We have another basic beige layer, 5 1/4 by 4. Then we have a basic white, 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And I again am going to run it through so it's embossed. All right, so there's our layer. Then I have a piece of Crumb Cake that I use the scallop contours, and this is 5 by 1 7/8, okay? And we are going to adhere this to the front. But before we do that, we're going to add a layer of basic beige that is 1 inch by 5, and then a piece of the designer series paper, and this is 7/8 of an inch by 5, and this paper is called the Country Lace. It's really very pretty. This is what it looks like. This one is just in the beige, so it's very, very subtle. You can just about see it. All right, so let's add some glue. Thank you, V. Let's grab the other one. I'm going to do this separate. All right, so we're going to lay this one down. And like I always say, if you want it right to the edge, hold it up against your table and push that designer series paper down, and it'll be nice and flush. And then you want to make sure it's centered. All right, let's get that so it's stuck. Now let's add some more glue. And this time we're going to add it to the crumb cake, and we're going to center this. All right, and I want it right to the edge again. So I'm just going to push it down. Make sure it's in there, on there, centered. All right, so it's nice and flush. At least one edge is flush. Let's grab that glue. Guess I'm going to have to open a new one. And our embossed layer. And we're going to center this on our embossed layer. All right, and we're going to just let that dry because I have to trim it. All right, so let's let that dry. This frame is from the Wildflower Designs bundle, okay? And I also die cut it a second time because it does, when it die cuts that centerpiece out. So I die cut it in Moody Mauve and basic white so I could have my basic white layer. And we are going to grab our crumb cake and we are going to stamp thank you towards the top. Let's get this away. All right. And now what I want to do is I want to put this piece inside this frame, and it's not going to stay. So what I'm going to do is grab my scissors. Let me see what I did with them. All right, just cut 2 little pieces, and I'm going to add some seal, and I'm just going to put this right along the edge, just so it holds that white frame in place. Okay, so now it won't fall out, and I can, oops, I missed this one spot. There we go. I missed one spot. All right, so now it won't fall out, but I do want to trim this edge. All right, let's grab our small little cutter. I wish they would come back out with this. I might have to do it on my big one. It's too thick. There we go. 1, 2, 3, and it was cut. All right, so now it's all nice and edged. Just make sure I have the correct layer. I think it's this one. Yes, it is. And we're going to, you know what? I'm going to grab a glue so we're not fighting with these glue bottles. Thank you. All right, Karen, enjoy. I hope all the animals are doing well. I remember barn time very well when we had our farm. All right, so there's our glue. And we're going to layer it up on our basic beige. All right, and then we're going to pull our card base in. And we're going to add some glue. Make sure we have it opening the correct way. We're going to lay that on the front. All right, just like that. Now we're going to take our frame, and I'm also going to adhere this to the front with glue. And I'm just going to put the glue here and here, so it catches this middle piece, because if I try to glue it down, it's going to be bumpy, right? So we just want to glue it to that center piece. We want it to make sure it is straight. All right, next, let's grab our piece of scrap again and our basic beige. We are going to stamp that little dandelion. I'm actually going to just cut this out while that ink is drying. Here it is. I piled everything on top. While that ink is drying, let's grab this die. And we're going to die cut this real quick while the ink is drying. Line this up. See, this is what it's perfect for, Emma. Oops. There we go. All these small little ones. It's perfect. All right. So I didn't really cut it out that perfectly, but it'll do because we have our marker and we are going to again add some color. Okay. And then all right. So the next thing I want to do is add our foliage. And I have a couple different pieces, and this is from the textured floral dies. I have basic beige, crumb cake, and white. And we just want to add this to the front of our card. Okay, so let's grab some glue. And we're just going to add a little bit of glue. Oops. If I need to add some up top, we can do that after it's done. But we just want to get this laid out. Let's move this one up a little bit. Whoops. I've got glue on my fingers. And then we'll add a little bit of glue to the back of this. And put it right in the center. And then we're going to take this and add a dimensional to the back. I'm going to add the big dimensional there. And then a mini down here. My fingers are all sticky. And we're going to add this right here to the bottom. And now create, I should have put the fan on in here. No wonder it's so warm. It is warm. All right, so we got a nice little bow. And again, I'm going to use one of my larger glue dots. Let's get this out of the way. Let's just get our tails cut. Okay, going to even out our tails. And I like these larger glue dots for the heavier bows. And we're going to stick this, I'm going to put it right on the side of our flower. Okay, puff up our bow and then lay it down. And we're going to grab some opal rounds and we're going to use the white ones. And we'll just put a large, a small, and a small. And there is the front of our last card. Good question, Do. Probably just one of the craft stores. All right, so let's jump to the inside of the card. This is really quick and easy. Our basic white is 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And our beige is 5 1/4 by 4. So we're going to first adhere this white to our beige. Let's get that out of the way. And it's going to be a tight fit. So we want to make sure we have just enough room. Okay. And then I have my white frame. And I am going to add a bit of glue. I want to try not to do too much because I don't want it to ooze through, but I want it to stick. So we're just going to add this right to the center. And then I die cut out of the designer series paper. This is the Thoughtful Journey. And we're just going to, actually I'm going to adhere a little bit of glue right there. And add this. Just going to give it a little turn there. All right. Got to give it a second to dry. Okay. And then add some glue. And add it to the center. I was going to say, oh no, I put it on the wrong side. All right, so there's the inside. All right, so there is card number 3. Card number 2. And I'm going to pull this up so you can see. And card number 1. So 3 different type cards with the same stamp set. All right. So the month of June, I am going to be giving away, and don't mind mine, one of these chamois for any order placed during the month. That's my thank you gift this month. So make sure you use the host code that is on the screen. And so not only will you get 10% off the bundles, but you'll get a chamois from me as a thank you. Did you? Thanks, Fran. Well, happy crafting, because it is a very lovely set. All right, everybody, thank you for joining me. I'll have a blog post up for you in the morning, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great night. Bye-bye.